Hello, welcome back. So, in the previous part, we were discussing about the geotechnical properties of the soil. So, the same discussion we will continue in this part. So, the next property of the soil is the consistency limit. So, in the previous part, we were discussing about the density index. So, generally, we use this property in case of cohesion-less soil. Now, for the cohesive soil, we generally use this property consistency limit. And generally this cohesive soil particles are of very fine size, of very uh, small size. So therefore sometimes they are also known as fine grained soil. And the cohesionless soil, because their particles are generally larger than this cohesive soil, so they are sometimes known as the coarse grained soil. Coarse grained soil. So this consistency limit generally we will be using if our soil is cohesive. So in that case, we used to find out consistency limit. So now we will discuss more about it. So consistency of a fine grained soil is basically it refers to the firmness, how firm a soil is. And generally this firmness, it varies with the water content in the soil. So the amount of water, how much water is present in the soil, basically this consistency limits on that. So now, this consistency is a very important property because generally we use this consistency property to determine various parameters of fine-grained soil so that we can process that clay soil for our design problem. So now in this, basically, uh, in the consistency limit, what we do is if we have a oven dry soil, if we have a oven dry soil, and in that if we add the water gradually, now what will be the changes in the fine grained soil? So those changes are basically in the we define those changes in the stages. So those stages uh, can be expressed with the limits, which is called the consistency limits. So basically in this, the water content at which the consistency changes from one state or one stages to the other stage is called the consistency limits. And it is firstly defined by this scientist Atterberg. So therefore this is also known as Atterberg limits. Now, with the help of this diagram, I will now try to explain this. Now here, in this graph, it is showing when we have the solid part of the soil, which means this is basically the oven dry soil. Now, when we add water, then the it becomes soft, and as we add water gradually, so it becomes soft and more softer, and then it goes to the plastic stage, and further addition of the water, it goes to the liquid state. So now in the consistency limit, basically we have divided this behavior into three stages. One is the liquid stage, plastic stage, and semi-solid stage. And there are some boundary, which means there are some water content, which means if we increase water with that limit, then the soil goes to one state to the other state. So for example, at this water content, which is represented as WL, so this is the minimum water content which is required to get a soil into the liquid state. Similarly, this is the water content which is expressed as WP. This is the minimum water content to get the soil into the stage of plastic. So basically, these boundaries are defined, and this WL is the liquid limit, WP is the plastic limit, and WS is the shrinkage limit. So now we will discuss liquid, plastic, and shrinkage limit one by one, and we will see what is the significance of these limits. Now coming to the liquid limit. So liquid limit is basically a water content which is expressed as a percentage of the weight of oven dried soil at the boundary between the liquid and plastic state. So liquid and plastic. So this is basically the This is basically the boundary. So at which this water content will be known as liquid limit. So I have shown you earlier that water content can be calculated as weight of water to the weight of solid. So if it is defined, if we want to find out the liquid limit, so we can express this as WL, which will be the weight of water to the weight of solid soil or oven dry solid soil. So at this stage, basically, at this stage of liquid limit, we can visualize this soil as in the form of slurry. So generally, beyond this water content, the soil will be in the liquid form. It will be flowing freely. So at this stage, we can consider our soil as slurry, and because of this slurry form, the strength of the soil, which is majorly the shear strength of the soil will be very low. Then the next limit is the plastic limit. Now, plastic limit is very important. We will first see what is plastic limit. So plastic limit is again a water content, which is again expressed as a percentage of weight of oven dried soil. And it is basically the boundary between plastic and semi-solid state. So this is the semi-solid state and this is the plastic state. So the boundary between them, it is known as WP, which is the plastic limit. And it is expressed as WP. Now, this plastic limit is very important soil property, and at this limit, the there are various work that we generally do in the soil. For example, the excavation work. Now, for excavating a soil, if it is in the plastic stage, then excavation will be very easy. And similarly, if we are considering soil for the agricultural cultivation work, in that case also plasticity of the soil matters a lot. So if our soil is in the plastic limit, then excavation work, agricultural cultivation work, and similarly some other works also can be carried out. So therefore, determining plastic limit is very important. Now, we have discussed the liquid limit and plastic limit. So in this case, now here we have seen the liquid limit. Sorry, this is the liquid limit and this is the plastic limit. And the distance between them, which we are expressing as IP, this is known as plasticity index. And this plasticity index is very important for determining the state of soil and for classifying different soil. So this plasticity index, basically this IP can be calculated as the difference of WL and WP. So IP can be calculated using this relation. And with the once we get the IP value of a particular soil, then we can find out the soil type. We can find out what is the degree of plasticity in the soil, what is the degree of cohesiveness in the soil. So that I will show you with the help of this table. So in this table, you can see if the plasticity index value is 0, then the soil will be sandy, which means because we know that sand has no cohesive force. So in that case, plasticity index will be 0. And in this, the degree of plasticity, we will call it as non-plastic. And degree of cohesiveness, it will be cohesionless or non-cohesive. Similarly, if the plasticity index is less than 7%, it means there can be a sandy soil with the mix of silt. So when the silt is mixed with the soil, silt shows some plasticity, and therefore we can classify the soil as having low plasticity. And there, because the silt is present in the sand, we can call it partly cohesive. Similarly, if the plasticity index is between 7 to 17, then we can consider our soil as having clay along with the silt. And in this case, the plasticity of the soil will be medium. And because there is clay particles, so it will be cohesive soil. Similarly, if plasticity index is greater than 70, then we classify our soil as clay, and it is highly plastic and highly cohesive. So this is how this plasticity index gives us an indication of the plasticity behavior of the soil. Now this liquid limit, plasticity, plastic limit, and shrinkage limit, generally we find out this moisture content with the help of experiment. So because that is not in our scope of the course, so we are not discussing that experiment. But generally these values are determined with the experiments, laboratory experiments. Now coming to the next limit, which is WS, which is called the shrinkage limit. Now we know that because these are the fine grained soil, because consistency limit is generally performed for the fine grained soil. And we know that in fine grained soil, the particle size is very small, and they also have some intermolecular forces. And in this, when we add the water, when the fine grained soil, when we add the water, they generally swelling. They have generally the swelling effect. And when the water content is decreased, then they generally shrink. So the water content at which no further volume reduction in the soil is detected, at that water content, we classify that water content as the shrinkage limit, which means after further reduction of the water from this limit, there will be no change in the volume of the soil. So that limit is known as shrinkage limit. So here it is. Shrinkage limit is the maximum water content expressed as percentage of oven dried weight rate, at which any further reduction in the water content will not cause any decrease in the volume of the soil mass. So here you can see at this plastic limit, the further increment of the volume is this one. Similarly, at liquid limit, the increment in the volume is up to this one. Now this shrinkage limit, I mean determining shrinkage limit is very important, and this shrinkage generally occurs, I mean finer is the particle of the soil, greater will be the amount of shrinkage. Now in India, there is a type of soil which generally with the application of the water, it swells, and once the water is dried, it shrink. So generally, there are some soils which contain a mineral which is called Montmorillonite. So if a soil is containing this mineral, which is basically a clay mineral, then they shrink more and they expand more and expand heterogeneously during the summer. So they shrink and expand uh, more. And you can see the behavior of such soil. So here you can see these are the shrinkage cracks occurring in the black cotton soil, which is again a type of soil found in the India. So generally this type of soil is found in Maharashtra area, and there found constructing foundation on such soil is very difficult. So there we have to apply some other precautionary measures to design the foundation of such soil. So basically, generally we avoid founding structures on such type of soil. But in case if we have to construct, then we have to apply some other applications also to improve this soil. So this value of shrinkage limit is basically it is this shrinkage limit is used to understand the swelling and shrinkage property of the cohesive soil, and it is also used to calculate a factor which is called the shrinkage factor. Now, with the help of this shrinkage factor, we can find out the suitability of the foundation for any particular soil, and it also gives us the suitability of the soil for the construction, for constructing foundations, roads, embankment, dams. So this shrinkage limit is also very important for determining the suitability of the soil for any particular foundation. Now that is the consistency limit for the soil, which we generally use for the fine grained soil. Now coming to the next property of the soil, which is called the compaction. Well, this compaction is very similar to the density index, because in the compaction also, we generally try to compact a soil to densify it. So this soil compaction is considered as one of the ground improvement techniques. So if in the nature, if we have any soil and if we have to construct any structure on this, then it is a very good practice and it is a normal practice to compact the soil before constructing any structure. Now, what happens with the compaction? So with the compaction, uh, I mean, what is the process of this compaction? So it is basically a process by which expanding compactive energy on the soil, then what happens is the soil grains rearranged more closely. So ultimately what happens is when the soil is having more voids, so by compacting it, the voids between the soil decreases. So this is one of the photo. Here you can see the soil is compacted using this roller. And with this compaction, what happens is the density of the soil increases, and also the bearing strength and bearing capacity, shear strength of the soil, it also increases because as the compaction is happening, density is increasing, and therefore the particles are confining. Their particles are coming closer to the to each other. So if they are, I mean, if they're closer to each other, which means they are dense and they offer more shear strength and also more bearing capacity. And at the same time, they reduce the void ratio. So void ratio is all about the voids. So if we compact, obviously voids will be reduced, porosity will be reduced, and permeability and settlement will also be reduced. Now, what is settlement? Settlement is basically a phenomena in which when you apply load on a soil, then soil grains are trying to get closely to each other. And in that case, what happens is voids is removed. And because of that, the settlement occurs. So we will discuss more about this settlement in another property. First, we will discuss another property of the soil, which is a very important property of the soil, which is called the permeability. Now, what is permeability? Permeability is basically a measure of soil's ability to permit water to flow through its pore and voids. So basically, there are different types of soil, and when we pass water through it, so some soil uh, take water, I mean, permit water to flow very easily. Some soils doesn't permit water to flow easily. So, for example, in this type of soil, if you pour water, then uh, at what speed it is passing through it, this medium. So that measure is basically the permeability. So this permeability is also very important property for the design of various structures. Now, this permeability of soil, basically it has a very decisive effect on the stability of the foundation. Now, if a soil is having high permeability, which means if you drop the water through it and if it passes very easily within a very few seconds, then it means the soil is having very high permeability. Similarly, if there are soil in which you pour the water and it takes a lot of time to pass through it, then we classify that soil as a having low permeability. So now in the design of any foundation, this property of soil, which is permeability, it is very important, and it is basically having a decisive effect for the stability of the foundation. Similarly, there can be seepage loss in the earthen dam, and similarly, if we want to see the drainage property, I mean, if we want to design the drainage in the subgrades are basically the layer of soil on which roads are constructed. So in that case, we want our subgrades such that if there is a rainwater, then rainwater should pass through the road very in the very fast manner. So in that case, we try to design our subgrades such that it has high permeability. It uh, it uh, it reflects the water away from it very fastly. And similarly, if we want to excavate some open cuts, in that case also permeability is very important. Similarly, if we want to measure the rate of flow of water into the well, there also we try to find out what is the I mean, with that also we can determine the permeability. So this permeability is also a property which is determined by conducting some tests in it. We are not going to discuss those tests. So here, this is only to give an idea of the property of the soil, what is permeability. Now coming to the another very important property of the soil, which is called the consolidation. Now in the consolidation, this consolidation means it is basically a compression of saturated soil under steady pressure, and it is occurred as a result of water expulsion from the soil void. So for example, if there is a soil and these are the soil grains, if these are the soil grains, and we also assume that this soil is saturated. Now on this soil, if we construct a building, now this building will have some load, and this load will actually be a steady load. Now because in this soil the voids are filled with the water, so what happens is when this steady load will be placed on the soil, after as the time passes, this soil will try to settle down. Why? Because the water in this will try to expel out because of the this steady load. So this process is generally known as consolidation. Now it actually dependent on the time and the type of soil. So generally this consolidation is very, it takes a lot of time in case of clay soil, because clay particles are very small and the voids between them is very small, and water, if water is filled in those voids, then expulsion of that water takes a lot of time, and that happens after the steady imposition of the load. So this settlement which is happening because of the expulsion of water, this settlement generally occurs in some of the structures if they are constructed on the saturated soil or on the clay soil. So in that case, the study of the settlement becomes very important. So therefore, in this property consolidation, it is very important to understand the rate of consolidation. At what rate the soil is settling, and what is the total consolidation. I mean, when the total voids will be removed, when the total water from the voids is expelled, then what happens is the soil particles will rearrange, and ultimately there will be some settlement. We can understand this with this diagram. For example, in this, if this house is constructed on this soil, and as this house is having some weight, so because of this application of the weight on this soil, if this soil is saturated, and if this soil is of same type which on which the house is constructed, then what happens is after some time the house will settle. Now this time may be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, depending on the soil. Now this depression is basically the settlement, and this is happening because of the property of the soil consolidation. Similarly, sometimes what happens is this settlement is not occurring uniformly. Say for example, only the tip of house is settling, the other part is not settling. So in that case it is called the tipping settlement. Or the third type of settlement is when we construct our house on two different type of soil. So say for example, this is soil of type 1 and this is soil of type 2. Now in that case the settlement behavior of both the soil will be different. So maybe this type of soil will settle or will take more time to settle, and this second soil may take less time to settle. So in that case what happens is this part of the building will settle first, will settle more as compared to this part. So in that case one of the building may tilt, and therefore it may collapse from this side, and this type of settlement is called the differential settlement, and it is basically a cause of concern. So basically, as I said, it is very important to determine or to understand the rate of consolidation. I mean, at what rate the settlement is happening. It is very important to understand, and what will be the total settlement for any particular soil. So by understanding this rate of consolidation and total consolidation, what happens is a design engineer can take necessary precautions. I mean, if you already know that your building will settle for a certain or for a particular amount, then for that we can take precautionary measures so that our building may not collapse. or the aesthetic view of the building may not be spoiled. So basically, in this, the design considerations to keep the settlement to the tolerable limit. Yes, we also apply some, we also take some precautionary measures in the soil so that the settlement in the building will be in the tolerable limit. Otherwise, the desire to use the structure may be impaired and the design life of the structure may be reduced, like in case of differential settlement or in case of tipping settlement. Now, this process of consolidation, sometimes it is being confused with the compaction. In the compaction also, the densification of the soil is happening. In case of consolidation also, the densification of soil is happening. Now, what is the difference between them? The only difference between them is in the compaction case, when we compact the soil, we, the only the air is expelled from voids. And in case of consolidation, water is expelled from soil. And this is a very lengthy process. The process is may take 5 years, 10 years, and it is generally a natural process. So in this case, water, expulsion of water may take a lot of time, but compaction, it is basically an artificial method. And generally we take it may take 1 or 2 days to compact the soil. So yes, the same thing I have discussed here. So basically, in case of compaction, generally there is a reduction in the volume of the air. But in case of consolidation, generally it happens in case of saturated soil in which all the voids are filled with the water. So in the consolidation process, generally there is a reduction in the water from the void. So that is the consolidation process. So that is the basic difference between the consolidation and compaction. Now coming to the next very important property of the soil, and that is called shear strength. Now in the shear strength, basically the shear strength of the soil is basically a shear resistance of the soil, which is basically the result of friction and interlocking of the particle, which is possibly because of the cementation or bonding of the particle. So as I have explained that there can be two types of soil. One is fine grained soil, and fine grained soil are basically cohesive soil, and the second one is uh, coarse grained soil. So in fine grained soil, generally the particles are very close to each other, and there is some plasticity, there is some intermolecular forces. So therefore basically there is some bonding between the particles also. But in case of coarse grained soil, like the sandy soil, they don't have any bonding. Generally when we compact them, they they come close to each other. And when we apply load, then what happens is when there is two grains and when they are close to each other, when they are close to each other, and at that point, if we try to apply this load, if the load is coming on this soil, then what happens in these particles, because they are very close to each other, they will develop a friction, which will be against the, which will be opposed to the vertical load. And there is also a force which is called the confining force because of the densification of the soil. So I'm just showing you two grains of the soil, and in that friction is occurring because of the application of the vertical load, and there because of the density there is confinement. So basically there is a force of confinement which is trying to take them as close as possible. And because of this closeness, this vertical load, in the reply of this vertical load, there will be a frictional force, and the direction of this force will be opposite to this. So basically, this frictional resistance is called the shear strength of the soil. So closer is the particle, higher will be the shear strength of the soil. And this shear strength is dependent on two parameters. In case of coarse I mean, in case of coarse grained soil, it depends on the frictional angle, because as you can see, this is the confinement force and this is the uh, frictional force. So the resultant will be like this. So the angle, we can call this angle as frictional angle, friction angle. So in case of coarse grained soil, it depends on the friction angle. In case of fine grained soil, because there are some bonding also, there is some bonding also. So it depends on two parameters. One is the friction angle and the second one is the cohesion. Because there is some cohesion between the particles, so it will be dependent on this bonding and this friction angle. So this understanding of the shear strength in the soil is very important, because it is used to determine the most important property of the soil, which is called the bearing capacity of the soil. So higher is the shear strength, higher will be the bearing capacity. So generally, to find out bearing capacity using some formula, we generally use shear strength parameters to calculate this bearing capacity. So therefore, this property is very important to determine. And this shear strength is also very important for some other stability also. For example, the lateral pressure on the retaining wall. So like if there is a retaining wall and if there is a soil, so as you can see, if I construct this retaining wall, then you can see this is a slope. This is the slope of the soil. So this slope of the soil is maintained because of the shear strength of soil. Now that I will show you in the photo also. So here you can see this is a road constructed on the soil, and this road is stable because of the stability of the soil. I mean, stability of the slope of this soil. So here you can see this is the slope of the soil, and it is stable because of the presence. I mean, because of the strength. Shear strength of the soil. So generally, the design, the failure in the soil is occurred because of the shear failure. So unlike the concrete and concrete and steel, soil is basically a natural material, and it generally have no strength except this shear strength, which is basically the shear resistance. So the failure of soil generally occurs in this term, shear strength, in the shear. So that is the property of the soil. Now in the next part, we will discuss some other we will discuss the classification of the soil. So thank you.